Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do a roof. So roof is pretty simple, and I believe for the project that you guys are doing, particularly for most projects nowadays as well, for commercial uses, they end up typically having a flat roof, mainly because a lot of roofs now are green roofs that are, habitable. So most times they're often flat. Um, so if I have a flat roof, most cases I usually just use a floor. So in this instance, I can see I have this floor. I'm going to copy and just paste it to a selected level, and level 4 is my roof level. So I'm just going to do the level 4, and I'm actually going to take this, and so now that I copied that floor, I'm going to take it and I'm going to make it a thicker floor, and I'm actually going to edit its type, edit its profile, so I can bring it with inside the building. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you have a habitable roof, um, you need a parapet or railing that extends above the, above that roof line, so people can't fall off the roof. So that's when you can click on, the walls, and then if you come up to the heights, you can say, it's going up to the roof, and I want a top offset of 4 feet. So you start to create that parapet feel. Now the reason I did a thick, like I made that roof thick, is because obviously there's structure to the roof. Um, if it's a flat roof that's not habitable, this thickness won't be as thick as like the structure for the floors, because there's not much weight on that roof. At most, that's up there is maybe some mechanical equipment, like your condensers for your HVAC systems. However, if it's a habitable roof, particularly one that's a green roof that has some green spaces, that's when it could become a thicker structure, and depending on the green roof system, really thick to support the depth needed for the soil for the green roof system, and B, to support the weight for that system. You need a thicker structure, and a more of a sturdy structure. So those can end up being 3 feet deep. Adding in the structure, the depth of the soil, and stuff like that. So always keep that in mind too. Now, I don't know if you guys have gotten to this yet in any of your materials classes or construction methods classes or environmental system classes or anything like that. But even though it's a flat roof, it's actually not flat itself. It has like a very minimal slope to it. And you can look in your building constructions illustrated book. The studio handbook may have it as well. You can even Google it, just to see flat. Like if you do flat roof details, something I would imagine should come up. That shows how it slopes a little bit. But really, how it slopes, I don't know if it's going to show it anywhere. But really, it doesn't really so the structure itself doesn't slope. What slopes is tampered insulation, is basically the kind of like the top layer before like an asphalt layer that goes on it. You can kind of start to see it here. So that kind of like the square thing right here is tampered insulation, and it tampers down a little bit and repeats, so water can slope down to roof drains. So that's set up so it slopes. I forget what the exact slope is, but it slopes to the roof drains. I'm trying to find one that's good. And this is a section here that you can see a little bit better. But if you look in the construction, our building construction illustrated books, that'll start to actually show the details really well. Really can't see it there. But it's there. So that's something that you wouldn't really show here because it's such a minimal slope. I mean, you could do it, and I'm going to show you the roof command that's here and how you would create a slope roof. But for this purpose, you know, if it's a flat roof, I would just use a floor. And then when we start to do the construction documents in the second half of the semester, I can show you ways where you can, you know, and details and sections and stuff like that. You can manipulate the, you know, the roof so it gives the presence that it's sloping and the details look correct. So that's for a flat roof. So I'm gonna take out the flat roof. So you can see the flat roof is very simple to do. So this is gonna be for like an angled roof. And again, so this is the roof command, and I can do a roof. And you know, if I'm in 2D, I mean 3D, and I hit the roof command, it's gonna ask me for a level. If I'm in, you know, an actual level, it won't ask me for the level because it'll just assume that that level that I'm on is what I want to use. So I'm going to use, I'm just going to pick the outside. Now you can actually use this roof tool to do a flat roof as well if you wanted to. I just like to use the floor because it's something that I usually already have in the building. I can just copy it up if it's a flat roof. But if you want to use the roof as a flat roof, what you do is, so once you draw on the lines, you can see these little triangles kind of like next to the lines. That signifies that this line defines the slope. So if I highlight them all, I can uncheck define slope, and it'll give me a flat roof. And then, you know, again, you can manipulate it so it's to the inside, so you can do a parapet, and you can change its thickness so it's thicker, and you know, do all that stuff. And then here, like, so this is with the modify elements. You can start to like angle it a little bit if need to. And this is how you can actually get like crazy shapes. If you ever have crazy shapes for a roof, you can start to play with. Instead of modeling it in place, you can kind of do it this way. And this is the same for floors as well. I tend usually not to do this and just model it in place because it's a little bit more controlling to do it. You know, you can add like split lines, and so you can actually do it a little bit. Oops. But that's probably one of the easier ways where, like, if you did do a roof, you can kind of do it, like, if it's only up a foot, and you can kind of start to show a slope to it. But what you would do first is you would add a split. So you maybe split it in some quadrants or something like that, and then start to raise it so it would slope to drains. Or like say you had 8 drains, you maybe do some lines like that to show the drains, and then slope everything up and around to it. And then you'll notice, like, if I click on this floor, you get the same thing for floors as well. So you can do it, you know, either way. So this is yeah, so like you can adjust the slope arrow if you wanted to define the slope. Or you can just redefine, and so I can click back on these lines and say that I want them to define the slope. And this tells you the slope, so 9 over 12. Obviously, a 6 over 12 is a 45-degree roof. 12 over 12, well, 6 over 12 is, 45-degree angle. 12 over 12 is really steep. As you can see here. But if I go back to the footprint, click on those. I'm going to do a 6 by 12. Which is how that is. A lot of times, though, with roofs like this, you'd have a little bit of an overhang. we'll say maybe at 2 feet. And again, for something like this, I can tab to select all and just offset all. And now you get a little bit of an overhang, like this. So that starts to create like an angled roof like that. Now you can, if you want, to get these roofs to match, to get these walls to match this roof profile, you could come here, click on the wall, edit its profile, and realign it to that roof. But an easier way is to just select the walls and hit attach top base, attach it to the roof, and it automatically adjusts the profile to match the roof. So now no matter where this roof gets moved to by level, those walls will always be attached to that roof and move with it. Same goes for a floor. If you're using the roof as a floor as a thing, if you're using a floor as a roof, you can attach walls to it so they go up to it. But obviously, if you're using levels to assign heights by walls and you have a flat roof, they're going to be up to it anyway. The attached one is good for angled stuff, or if you start to do crazy shapes and everything like that with with the flat roofs, you can change it. So this one was with both of them as a 612. Maybe I do one side that's a 312 and leave the other side as a 612. So now it starts to give me a different shape. I can take these off, and I can have these define the slope. Let me say it's 312 for both, so now it's going the opposite way. I can get really crazy and have all of them define the slope. And let's have all of them be the same slope. So now you kind of get like a hipped roof that meets in the middle. Maybe let's see what changing just these two to a 612 are. So you can kind of see it gets a little bit crazy there. Maybe it's just those two. So now it's something like that, which is crazy. If you have just one defined, then it's basically going to be like a straight slope like that. So that was just with one defined as well. So that gets crazy. I never used the slope arrow command. I'm not sure exactly what it will do. So yeah, I'm not really sure what the slope arrow does. I usually just kind of edit it myself to get it to go. But you can see, like, if you actually start to read this a little bit, I guess you can kind of start to like actually make where that kind of like the ridge would be. So you can specify the highest point, and it'll match it, if needed. Or you can kind of create different heights and everything like that. So you can read through that and see if that's something that you may want to use in the future. As I mentioned, for this studio, I believe most of the roofs are probably going to end up being flat. Maybe some different shapes in maybe like a small area or something like that. But for the most part, I think they're going to be flat. Now, obviously, if you start getting roofs that have multiple sides, that's where things can get, really crazy with the shape of the roof. Let me just do those two. Where it can get like multiple slopes going on, so it gets even crazier. If I have all of them define the slope, you can see what it looks like. So now it starts to get really crazy. Obviously, this was if it was like that L shape of a building that was like that. So this is how you can start to play with roofs, with angled roofs. Roofs can be tricky if you have like a special roofs that you want to do, and that's something that we can look into a case-by-case basis if you have like a special slope roof. But that's pretty much it for the roof tutorial, I believe.